Hey guys, good to see you. We're back. Just want to talk about our guest, Steve Martinez. Really cool guy. You'll see him on the podcast talk about a bunch of different things, but one thing that we do want to spotlight is this live show that he is doing. It's a live podcast at Crypto.com Arena, April 12th. Go get your tickets. We will be putting that in our descriptions. We'll tag his social media as well as his podcast social media is there, so go check them out.
We also want to thank you guys for the support that we've had so far on this podcast. We're just really excited for 2024. We have a lot of new projects coming up, a lot of new guests. We're excited to share all those in due time. But for now, just sit back and enjoy this podcast with Steve. Thank you guys.
Yeah, like feel free to chug the water, or if you gotta go use the restroom, I really don't care. Do your thing.
All right, red light, red light.
Red light.
Red lights all around.
Hello? Yeah, I see a red light over there.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're back with the One Match Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We have the Steve Martinez. Go ahead and introduce yourself here, Steve.
Yo, what's up? My name is Steve Martinez. I am here representing Todo Chido, Everything's Cool podcast. Shout out to Julie and Brandon. I didn't actually tell you guys yet that I was going to be on this, so this is a surprise to you guys too. Yeah, that's okay. I'm sure you guys are cool, right? So they'll be all right.
They'll see this pretty soon. We'll have this turned around.
We're really excited to have you. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to be able to talk to, I guess I'd call you an internet personality at this point. Yeah, man.
I think I'm not really sure. I think I've been in denial since the beginning from TikToks, even all the reels. But I guess I can maybe see myself being named that way. But thank you.
I love seeing you online. Love just hearing you talk.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you guys too. I mean, I'll give you guys props to just even start a podcast. Even looking, you guys, everybody listening can't see this, but they have an incredible setup, even better than our setup. But it's really, really cool. You really see the film school skills pull off right here.
I mean, yeah. That's a good segue because we all kind of went to the same film school. We went to Kelsey Fullerton. Sean knows Steve a little bit more because they worked on the same short film there. And I just met you in passing and whatnot, but I've met Brandon a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Really cool. Julie, seems really cool from the podcast there as well.
Yeah, she's my sister.
Oh no way!
Yeah, actually,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I was gonna make a joke that she's like a sister. No, she's my sister. Yeah, she's literally my sister. Yeah.
Dude,
wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we don't look alike. Brandon doesn't agree. Not you, Brandon.
Yeah.
The one on the show, Brandon. But I think we look very different. Yeah. So I don't blame you guys.
I mean, I would never have guessed.
Both really good looking people, but I mean, yeah, I think the humor is there.
You.
Yeah, the humor is there. But I guess I want to hit on that because we're co-hosts yourselves, but just running your own thing. What was the thought process with having you three as the host?
Yeah, what's the origin story?
Oh damn. Okay, I need to know how explicit can I get?
We don't care.
Dude,
you don't care?
It's great. Yeah.
It's because I feel like you guys are so good. I feel like I want to drop Ep.bombs.
Go for it.
I'm really bad. I don't know why. I use such colorful language.
Yeah.
I've been trying to cut back.
We've seen your podcast. Yeah,
Okay.
We know. That's
I know
why you're here.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Go off.
Okay. So no, I'm just kidding. So it was circa 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Brandon, and Julie became really close. I mean, Julie's my sister.
Mm-hmm.
But and I've known Brandon since I was 5. But the three of us really our bond grew because in 2020 obviously there was nothing to do. So we just stood at home, smoked a bunch of weed and just had convos about the world, January 6th, COVID, AI, all this stuff, the 2020s, what if the world was gonna end. We got really good at talking about what we felt was important. I don't know why we really fixated on politics, but I felt as though that opened this gateway to give us very intricate conversations. And over the course of a few months, we just became more and more our chemistry just continued to grow. And my sister had a friend coming down from the Bay who his dream was to work in radio. And he was coming down to the Bay because he wanted to work here in Los Angeles. And when he came over, we invited him, come to our house, come hang out with us. And through no effort of our own to try and impress him, he just overheard a conversation between me and Brandon talking about Kanye West. And at the time, I think he was, it's Kanye. He's going on his rants. He was doing something controversial, which I don't remember, but me and Brandon were on his side because we felt as though somebody who is dealing from mental illness shouldn't be given the same punishment as somebody who is fully functioning as an individual. And anyways, it completely blew away his mind. He thought of the takes. It changed his perspective completely, and he thought it was really cool. Fast forward even more months towards the end of the pandemic, he's down here working at this independent radio company called the Good News Network. Shout out to the Good News Network. And they're a completely black-owned, black-started radio, and they wanted to branch out even more, so they wanted to have their own Latino branch. And because of that, they wanted to also have shows that were completely original, that weren't from anywhere else. And so I think shout out to Daniel. I kept wanting not to say his name. I don't know why, because I don't know his privacy. But shout out to Daniel. Daniel thought of us. He thought of our conversations, and he felt like our chemistry was really good. So he reached out to Julie and said, do you guys want to come and audition and interview for this part? And this is like, I've never been in any position where I was a YouTuber. I had my own radio show, had my own podcast, neither Brandon or Julie, but we felt as though an opportunity like that would feel almost like we owe it to people whose dream it is to be on the radio, to at least try, because that's such an amazing opportunity that I felt like if I just said no, if I was like, I'm uncomfortable, like I'm gonna be shy, I just felt like I would have missed something that could have been very beautiful and open a lot of avenues towards like my dreams, you know, like it's same as you guys want to work in the industry, film industry. 100%. So I felt like this is a perfect avenue of at least getting some experience doing some form of production. And anyways, so we do the interview, we do the auditions. They love us. On the first audition, Jackie puts us on the radio to a couple hundred people. Obviously super nervous. I don't know if you can find the clip online, but barely speak, but we say our names. And they love it. We come back a few times, and they're like, we want to sign you guys onto the show. So we sign on to the show, and just out of the blue, now we have this radio podcast. And that's basically, from that on out, that was my origin story. Yeah.
Dude, there's a lot of pick
That's
apart
great.
there. But
yeah,
congrats on you guys nailing that. I guess the biggest takeaway from that, I think, coming from, because I'm a fellow Brown, you know, but I feel like there's a lot of pressure growing up already. And what you just said there is like, you feel like you want to give people the voice or opportunity, or like show the example, like, hey, you can do this as well. Do you feel, especially back in the days, we can start with this, but back in the days, did you feel that pressure a lot more? And have you felt like that's taken off your shoulders at this point, or your ears more open than ever?
It has definitely not taken off my shoulders. I think with the amount of attention that the show's gotten, I feel like it's become even more of a necessity for me to make sure that I give enough care and I give enough attention to the show. Obviously I don't consider myself like, I'm like Joe Rogan, right? Like millions of people watch me. No, but I know at least there's a good amount of people. I run into people all the time in Los Angeles who stop me, and they're like, hey, like, you have the podcast. And that in of itself motivates me to take it a little bit more seriously, because not only is it about the topics and how significant those probably are to people, but it's also anybody who wishes or wants to do something similar to what I'm doing. It would be such a disservice to their dreams if I just didn't care, you know, if I just did the podcast silly willy, like I didn't give a fuck, right? So I feel like if anything, I guess the weight on my shoulders has grown a little bit, but it doesn't break me. If anything, it motivates me to just like try more, you know. It's something that I've also grown to love a lot more the more I do.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys will get there too. I really feel like I see the amount of effort that you guys are putting into the podcast, and it honestly, even now, you guys are motivating me.
That's really nice of you to say.
Now the pressure's on us.
Oh, dude, big time. I mean, like, hands down, you inspire us. So I just wanted to like make that clear.
Thank you.
But I mean, I kind of wanted to get into kind of the topic of podcasts, and I think there's kind of a stigma surrounding podcasts, especially for young
For sure.
adult men to be starting them,
Yeah.
and kind of like
Like
It's a meme
alpha
now.
male podcast.
yeah. I think,
Brings out the alpha.
dude, straight up, yeah.
Go ahead, give me an alpha male tip right now.
Dude, yeah. You should have started investing when you were in 8th grade. Yeah, straight up.
When the 2008 crisis was happening, you should have been in there investing in everything.
Yeah,
as a
not-
little
not
8
playing.
years old, you should have had
We-
10,000 down already.
Exactly, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's over for you.
Take a small loan of $1 million like Trump.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You're good.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just like, I kind of wonder if that stigma kind of like haunted you when you were
Mhm.
starting your podcast. But I feel like you kind of had higher forces, kind of like, you had to audition
Mhm.
for this, whereas
Yeah.
like for, I think, the general census for people like Brandon and I, we kind of just started it on our own.
Mhm.
I just wanted to know if there's that pressure or if that
that's-
stigma kind of
No, I
haunts you.
totally do. I mean, I still feel it now, because it's like, it's definitely like you said. There's a lot of memes about it where it's like, like the most boring people will start a podcast and they'll be like, nobody gives a fuck about your opinion, right?
Mm.
And that could be very intimidating. And obviously, the more you guys will grow, the more you guys will also see. Every now and then you'll see hate comments. It's definitely intimidating, but I feel like as you progress in your journey of podcasting or anything else that you want to do, whether it's content creation or short films, you kind of learn to tune them out to a degree, because if you don't, I think it can really eat you up. And it really trips you up. I think even beyond podcasting in life, insecurity really brings you down.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't allow other voices to really control how you live your life and navigate through your career. So I think the stigma definitely affected me. But the way I navigated around it is, one, I decided to read less comments. And
wise.
two, I didn't, and this is a virtue that I've learned, I think, from, I don't know if you guys have ever read that book, what is it? I always forget the name. The
I don't
4
read
assignments,
books.
the 4 on, wait, is it on?
I don't read books.
I don't remember, but I think it's something along the lines of the 4 virtues. One of the virtues that people say leads to happiness is never take anything personal.
Right.
So I feel like even if you see these people who are like, like an all-male podcast is shitty because they're only gonna spread misogyny or whatever, whoever is like out there somehow like projecting their hate on podcasts, it's more personal and to their experience of whatever they've seen, and it's never personal to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like they don't mean to actually, like they're not targeting you, except when you read hate comments, they are targeting you in
Yeah.
that case. But for the most part, I think you got to learn not to take things personal, and you're your own worst enemy, and if you can do the most to not trip yourself up, then you can do a lot.
No, yeah. I mean, I agree with that, and we haven't been there yet, but I think just seeing it through your guys' comments, I'm like, man, that is like, first of all, I read the comments, I'm just like, okay, why do you have the time to put this down?
Yeah.
Go on with your life. Second of all, I think, obviously, I just in general in life, if you don't agree with somebody's opinion, you don't necessarily have to go off and bash them, right? And I think you guys talk a lot about like toxic masculinity and getting into with like your feminine side, not even that, just understanding the other side in general, which I think, in my opinion, society has kind of lost. I think because it's a lot easier to kind of just build those barriers and not take accountability for things, because that's the harder thing to do in life, right? But I mean, I guess I'll ask you, because I think that's one of the bigger sticking points. Like, what I feel like you guys talk about toxic masculinity because maybe you've had to learn either from like from culture, or from like just familial backgrounds, or where you're living at, especially younger in the early 2000s. Like, I remember that being like the weight on your shoulders, and you had these machismo men like on like setting the example. But why do you feel like I guess you, but like I feel the society in general here is like devolving from that?
I think that's a difficult question, but I feel like toxic masculinity, like especially for me culturally, for sure, like being a Mexican American, like a Chicano, as you will, you were surrounded by it your whole life. Like it wasn't even my father so much as I felt like it was just ingrained in society. The reason why is it's too long for even like a podcast. It has to be like a whole series. But I think one of the reasons why I like talking about it on the show is because I feel as though it makes people uncomfortable. And I think that's significant. I think in my life, it's been proven through just experience that the uncomfortable can always bring a lot of goodness.
Right.
And I think like challenging your ideals, even some of the shit that like I believe in, I think it's always important to challenge your ideals. And to me, like talking about toxic masculinity is against the status quo, and that's kind of like a core value of our show. And I think it's a core value of life. Some of the greatest achievements we've had is because somebody chose to think differently. So even though obviously it's toxic masculinity, which you could talk about it for years, but more of what it signifies, I think, is what is like important to me. Like, I feel like it's about just making your brain work in a different way, because I think people appreciate that, because it feels almost like a relief. Like, feels so refreshing to hear a different take, right? Even like how we were just talking about the Alpha Male podcast, right? Obviously those shows are bad because they teach young men to whatever, like objectify women and feeds into the patriarchy. But for that resonates to a lot of men, just because they feel as though, oh, like finally, like somebody sees me, I feel seen, right? And even though it's encouraging them to act in heinous ways, it goes to show you that when you oppose the norm, a lot of people are there to listen and enjoy and feel seen.
I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I haven't seen the movie yet. We haven't seen Barbie yet.
Oh,
we got to see Barbie, but
you guys haven't seen Barbie?
We haven't, dude. We get we saw.
Yeah, it was,
okay. We're going against what I'm about to say right now, but yeah, I saw Oppenheimer like 3 times, but I got to see Barbie. But I obviously we're friends with a lot of girls especially in the film industry now, and we learn so much from them, just seeing the different perspectives, especially on the creative side, because they're thinking on miles. I feel like they can create something that's very beautiful like this. We're trying to put in the same effort to create something just as like crafty or artsy, and it takes us a little bit longer. But I think a lot of people have a hard time up front when it comes to that sort of thing with the alpha male and, you know, the toxic masculinity stuff, is because like it is a power trip at the end of the day. And a lot of that times, like if you never have tasted that and you have somebody kind of encouraging you, like, no, be quote unquote, go against the standard quo and like stand up for yourself, you know, put these boundaries and like treat people like this, because now people will respect you. Maybe because they feel like that's what they're left with, you know, like because they've tried everything else, and like just having to put your foot down and having to be mean and having to do this and have that viewpoint gets them that level of like, hey, like now I'm getting at least some attention, some respect. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's healthy, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and you got to keep that into account with any relationship you have. So I feel like a lot of that is missed. So that's why there's brotherly love, you know, and I think so part of that, not even just besides brotherly love, but friendships, is that you got to keep yourselves accountable. And I'll ask you this question, because I'm not sure how close, and I'm not sure if you guys as a group of hosts have ever had to like call each other out, but not in a bad way, but just kind of keep each other in check. But when it comes to times like that, what do you think a friend is at the end of the day? Do you think it's somebody that's more so like a yes man? I mean, there's different friend groups. I'll leave it as an open-ended question for you. But what do you think a friend is, and what's a responsibility as a friend?
I think you're kind of like hitting it like pretty close. Where I think if a true friend has uncomfortable conversations with you, a true friend will call you out on your bullshit. They'll tell you like when you're in the wrong. And I think a true friend is not a yes man. I feel like a yes man, if somebody's a yes man in your life, they're not your friend. They're trying to get something out of you. Like, I don't know, like I feel like anybody who wants to just like completely agree, I feel like there's like an ulterior motive that obviously it's case by case basis, but it just feels a little sus.
Right.
The easiest way I can explain
that,
it.
or you're a people pleaser. I think like I find myself with friends that I'm not as close with. I am a lot more like agreeable and try to keep the peace.
That comes from like just wanting to build rapport with them.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's what that is. But I think like let's say Brandon and I feel a lot more comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations and calling him out, because I know whatever I'll say to him is not gonna like break the friendship, you know. And I think like I do appreciate, like, yeah, we'll probably like argue about it, but at the end of the day, like, we'll either realize who's right, who's wrong, or
it's not even that. It's just
everything in
like, I
between.
think we hold, like, I hold you to a standard of how I know you can behave and how responsible, like how people see you and respect you.
Yeah.
And I want you to uphold that, because I mean, that's how you got to where you're at. And with friendships, I mean, you got to keep each other responsible and accountable, because if things start coming out of whack, again, it goes back to the people putting up those walls because they don't want to talk about things at the end of the day. When that's the answer. It's not the easiest thing to do, but that is the answer. And if you have that talk and you don't want to go ahead and reconcile, then at least you have the respect for each other to talk. But as friends, I mean, I agree, you got to keep each other accountable, because at least from my viewpoint, it's because I want you to uphold that for yourself and for others, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I also think it's important that you're a little warm to your friends, because I think a lot of men friendships are a little cold.
yeah,
Do you get what I mean?
definitely.
Like,
I say that with like talking about my parents too, and how they like can't express like affection. I guess maybe as like, maybe I've seen other parents, and I think maybe you're kind of touching on that with male friendships too.
Yeah, because I think and I hate to be that like society thing,
Yeah.
but I think it's true that in society it's just normalized to be a little bit more colder towards men, like whether, like you said, like parental relationships too. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna get into your personal business, but I mean, if your father was obviously cold to you growing up, you're gonna project that onto your friendships, and even if you have a son, you're gonna project that too, because it's how you were raised. It relates to something that we talk about on our podcast, which is like generational trauma, which is your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your great-great-great-grandfather experienced something traumatic that caused them to think a certain way, which he then taught his son, who taught his son, who taught his son, who taught you, right? And generational trauma is very difficult to break, but it's very important that you do, because if you don't, it just gets passed down and it just continues forever, bro, forever.
100%.
And so I think it's super important that men are warm to their friends, because I don't know, you don't have to go to the extreme. Like, you don't have to hug them every time you see them.
Yeah.
But a nice hug, maybe.
We do. I think we do our best to like embrace, you know.
Oh yeah, we're very affectionate to the homies.
We are, like, there's been like kisses on the cheeks, and like it surprises me, but I'm like, why is this?
A little
surprising me?
alcohol's involved.
A little,
Yeah.
Sometimes not, you know. Sometimes not, but it's all
Smooches
love,
come
you
out.
know. Yeah.
A little Drake and Josh hug.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
I feel that.
hug me, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that, man.
But yeah.
I want to come back to your podcast, because I think it's really funny, like the layout of it right now, like
Yeah,
little
it's a
classroom desk.
classroom.
What's the thought process behind that?
Well, we all went to the same middle school, elementary, and high school. We didn't go to the same college, but me and Brandon did go to the same college. You guys knew that. So because of that, we always had that common like school theme, and we also felt just like we're very nerdy in the sense that we enjoy educating, and we enjoy educating ourselves about topics that we don't know about. And because of that, we're like, well, okay, the commonality between us is school and education. It's like, why don't we just make our podcast like a classroom, right? I've never seen a podcast that has that layout. I mean, we're still trying to make it better. We've been on a search for a fucking globe for like 3 years. But we'll be all right.
Like, what kind of globe though?
I want like a big globe, like a super big globe, but they're like $200, and I'm like, I don't know.
Not like Universal Studios, like right outside on City Walk, but
maybe not that big, but
a little
Like the ones you see in classrooms.
yeah, like I just want, like, that's what I want. And that's how I know I made it, is when I have my globe.
Okay.
If we find one for you, we'll send it to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I measure your success by the fact that you have like a Funko Pop of you.
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
yeah, like,
what
that
the
is-
fuck is that about?
I was like, my boy made it. Like,
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Pizza Hut. Yeah, I don't know who in Pizza Hut likes our show. Like, I guess somebody in Pizza Hut like saw our clips once on TikTok, and randomly became like a fan. And They sent us our own Funko Pops. They sponsored one of our segments.
Wow.
They sent us a blanket. They sent us our own Stanley Cups. R.I.P. Stanley. R.I.P. You guys saw the news.
Yes.
There's lead in there.
Yeah. Should have known.
I genuinely stopped using it because of that. I don't know. Lead scares me. But anyways, I'm grateful. I'm not gonna throw it away. I'm gonna display my hydro. It has our name on there. And then obviously the one that you guys brought up, the Funko Pops. Everybody says mine looks so much like me, and I can't help but agree.
Look-y,
yeah. You guys will get there though. Maybe you guys will get like Papa John's or something.
I would really like. I'm a big fan of Cause. If there can be like Cause figures of us,
Oh my god.
that would be insane.
This guy loves Cause.
Yeah, I do. I think I just like because I love Sesame Street as a kid, and it's just like in that vicinity, you know.
Wait, okay? Excuse me. I don't know what Cause is.
It's like
Here, let me show him. Hold on, midway through.
it's like almost like I won't say satirical because that makes you think it's funny, but like they kind of rip off like Sesame Street or like I think there's Mickey Mouse too,
It's an
right?
artist, yeah.
It's streetwear, and they do kind of like very ambiguously similar to like
I've seen that.
cartoon
Yeah.
characters. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You know, it's crazy. The last person who mentioned that to me too, and I had no idea what they were talking about. I wonder. No, never mind. I was gonna say I wonder if they're bigger here in like the OC. Wait, where are you guys originally from?
Dude, okay. I grew up in South Central, and I was there for the
Really?
longest time. Yeah. So,
Really?
do you know the street names usually or no?
Usually, yeah. That's
I'm
crazy.
off of Martin Luther King and Denker, so I'm like maybe a mile away from where the Coliseum was.
Yeah.
So I mean, that I know that whole area all the way up into like Crenshaw. My grandma lives in Koreatown still. My mom moved to downtown. So I have family like all over LA. I have friends in LA, so I love LA. Or as a kid growing up, it's changed a lot more. It feels
It's changed, yeah.
when I go now, it feels like I'm a tourist. It feels weird because now I'm a travelsman, I guess. I moved to Chino, so it's close by to Ontario. He lived in Eastville for.
I grew up in Hong Kong.
He grew up in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Really?
For like the first 13 years of my life, and then I moved to the States. Perfect English the whole time. I didn't even speak Chinese. I went to like an international school, kind of like lived my life going back like to school back home. Didn't go anywhere unless I was with someone with like they would speak Chinese, Cantonese. It was very interesting. But moving here was like really smooth for me because I already knew English, and I lived in Eastvale. So Corona, kind of very, very close, like the next city over from Brandon.
Yeah.
And just ran into each other in college.
Yeah. We barely moved out here, like in September of last year.
That's insane. How was like was there any culture shock? Nothing? You said
honestly, no, because like it's like this is where mainstream media, like we're portraying California in like our media, and I'm consuming like TV shows from here.
I will say
California
he's lying. There is a culture shock. He did tell me when he came to the U.S. He was like he saw Latinas and he was like, whoa. his girlfriend's a Latina.
Oh
so like,
yeah. I have a T-shirt and it says "I heart my hot Latina girlfriend."
Yeah,
she bought it for me. But
that's real. My girlfriend's Latina too.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
I see you.
Bro's exposing me like that.
Where I see you.
Bit of a culture shock. Yeah, sure.
I knew it would happen.
We're in South California. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
What you were saying is really interesting, though. That you said that like media basically like it sells you California.
Yeah.
So and wasn't like the biggest culture shock.
I mean, not really. Other than like, obviously it's glorified a little bit, and you kind of see the reality of like California and specifically LA. I'm sure it's changed, and like having lived in the States now, I don't really want to live in LA. You know, I really like where we're at. Just like I feel like OC is like a nice middle
OC's
compromise.
nice.
Oh yeah, big time.
OC's nice.
Politically, I mean, I'd prefer somewhere else. But I mean,
you guys are crazy down here. I've seen you guys on the news. Dude, I've seen you guys there at the rallies.
Oh my god. I think Orange, we're a little. I don't know. We're near Chapman, so there's a bunch of like students. So we have a very young crowd.
It's more. He's right
more
though.
our
I mean, because
age.
it's older folk usually, and it's a little more red down here.
Yeah.
So I mean, like growing up in LA, obviously I'm a little blue.
It's a lot
but
better.
I mean, like, I'm not somebody who really shits on like people's political opinion. Like, believe whatever you want to believe. My co-hosts maybe don't agree with me, but I'm a very peace and love guy. So even if you guys were conservative, I'd hope we can find some agreement.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's like you say, and like that's a cornerstone of your podcast is to make sure like everyone's heard and everyone's kind of
that everything's cool.
Yeah, everything's cool.
You believe something for a reason at the end of the day. So I mean, you know, whatever that may be, you got to talk about it. Again, it extends back to that. If you still disagree, then I mean, like, you know, it is what it is. But yeah,
it could be different. Sean could have gotten here and he'd be like, "Wow, I really love all these conservatives." Like,
yeah.
Like, they just speak to me.
I mean, it's where you land sometimes, man. But the way I would describe it is like, you know how like here there's like an obsession with like Japanese culture and anime and
definitely.
like kind of like that. I feel like I'm kind of the reverse, where I was someone that lived in the state, not in the States, and was like very obsessed and wanted to.
He refuses to watch anime with me, and I'm like,
not like it's not like a refusal thing, but like I just couldn't get into it. I don't know.
I understand.
Come on, we were talking about being warm to your friends.
You know what? Fair enough. We'll try.
Sometimes in relationships you make compromises.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say though, dude, your cooking. Ever since we moved down here, I've never had more Asian food in my. We're both foodies.
Cook?
He cooks like good noodles.
Barely. Like I'm like a ramen chef, man.
Yeah.
Like,
that's good.
I'm like a broke college student chef.
You're mastering like the art of the egg at this point.
The egg.
Yeah.
The art of the egg. That's pretty good.
No, I wanna like cook for real, but I mean
that is for real. I believe in you. I believe that's real food. I can literally pick up somebody who doesn't know how to cook, tell them to make noodles and eggs right now. They won't. Tell me, I won't know. I'm just projecting.
I know I know how to boil water and everything.
Boil
like that,
water?
dude. That's tough, dude. It's tough.
Water.
Well, if you leave it down there, it's like too soggy. If you don't do it enough, like you still get like, you know. So it's you got to learn how to time it. Don't microwave it. You need to boil and pour the water. You know?
Cereal, bro, it's hard.
Set it out, dude.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cereal?
I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Yes. Yeah, it's pretty bomb. I'm not gonna lie.
Have you had Oreo O's?
No.
It's like Oreo flavored cereal.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane.
It's pretty good.
I highly recommend. Maybe you guys would be sponsored by them.
Maybe
That would be. You guys would be on the pod.
Yeah.
Post. Yeah.
How would you pose?
That would be
How would
awesome.
you pose? Power pose, bro. You know what's crazy? You guys mentioned like you mentioned the. Have you ever heard of the song "Californication" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yeah.
It's literally about that, but like kind of more sinister.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the Powerball song?
No,
that's California Dreamin', right?
Yeah, Californication. It's like there's like a lot of theories about it, but
oh wow,
I don't know if your shows
break down the conspiracies, please.
Yeah. Tinfoil hat
So
times.
supposedly the Californication, the Red Hot Chili Peppers talk about like the Illuminati and stuff. Like talk about, and there's a line in the song that talks about everyone's been there, and I don't mean on vacation. Talking about like secret meetings. There's another line that says space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Ooh.
And you know, it's so crazy. The first time I ever heard that song, I was about 12, 13 years old. I was at Target. And at the time, NASA had, I think, just launched one of the rovers into Mars. And I remember looking at it. It was the National Geographic cover, and it was right there. And I've always loved science since I was like a kid. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And I kid you not, this like 40-year-old dude, like untrimmed beard, long hair, messy, like big belly, comes up to me, this like little ass kid, and he's like, you know, that's all fake, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I thought he was talking about like the National Geographic, like itself, like the booklet itself. I was like, oh, is this like not the real issue?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. I mean like the space, like we've never been to space, like it's fake. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like I think we've been to space. And he's like, no. Have you ever heard of Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers? And I'm like, no. What's that about? And he's like, in there they say, space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. And he was looking at me like he just dropped a bar on me, and I was like, Mom, where's my mom?
Yeah.
Dude, get me out of here, bro.
What business does this guy have telling you, like, you, what, 8 years old?
I was
like,
young, dude.
But, like, that's like telling, like, that's like going up to a kid
Yeah.
and telling them Santa's not real, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like I mean, at least like let
me believe.
him believe, because that's a cool.
Give me another year, man, please.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but that's so true. If space was fake and we were saying this lie to little kids, he basically shit all over my dreams.
Dude, straight up.
Yeah, he shattered my reality.
Space to me is crazy. We can get into that in a minute, but you hit about that song, Californication. I listen to a lot of The Doors, like Jim Morrison.
Ooh,
So LA Woman talks about that, but more so back in the days when like LA was like Sin City almost, you know, like you know, you come here, you do all the drugs, the celebrities are having fun. Like it was the Wild West, but like it was glorified to the most, like a classy Wild West, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a lot of people in politics right now, California is like a big sticking point because, I mean, shit is expensive here. It's like, you can't get over that. But also, you know what you get with California. So, I mean, that's the counter argument. A lot of the times, like California, it's like the talking point because like we're so politically like divided here, you know, and to the other states where, you know, we looked extreme sometimes, and that's not everybody. You know, I still feel, especially moving here in Orange, there's a healthy mix of different, you know, political backgrounds. But California in itself has always kind of been like that, for whatever reason, that shining star, like in the U.S.
Yeah, I have a cousin. He lives in New Jersey. He grew up in New York. Grew up in New York, but he came from New Jersey. And he was visiting in LA, and I asked him how he likes it, and he's told me that he feels as though LA and California specifically are the trendsetters that then trickle their way down the entire rest of the country. And it made me kind of change my perspective of how I feel, maybe because I've only grown up around here. To me, this is just normal.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, he's like, no, bro, like, even from the way you guys dress. I mean, maybe you could tell me this too. I don't know if you agree with his take, because I told my girl and she didn't agree. She's like, but she also is LA born and raised. So I'm like, I feel like, how can we disagree with somebody who's from New Jersey and grew up there?
Right.
But he said that everybody here, even like the way that people dress, everybody just like their model. Everybody has amazing fashion taste. I feel like I see things here that like make me be bored of where I come from, because I feel like you guys just set the standard and then we all try to just copy and imitate it. My girl didn't agree. She said like, no, I don't think so. I think he's just in love. He's in the honeymoon phase.
I think there's like a transplant like culture.
Sure, that
and
too.
Like, and I think, you know, it's been talked about many times, but like LA culture isn't like, it's no longer a proper reflection of people who were locally grown up in LA. And it's like
That
people
part, bro.
that come to LA and they create culture that is like kind of their idea of what LA is. And because their like voice or their platform is just so big that just becomes the new status quo. And so so gentrification essentially of our culture. And, you know, like, that is some like really like crazy shit, I think.
Maybe that's why I feel off visiting LA now, because it doesn't feel like I used to walk on the streets and like obviously unsafe back in the days, but I mean I never felt really threatened because you know the community, you know the culture around you. Now like even then, like you go 2 blocks up and it looks completely different, but even more so now, like there's nice spots, especially by the Coliseum there, like LAFC rolled in, they're making USC look nice, and as soon as you pass I think it's Wilshire, once you pass one of the main streets, like dude, it's back to like full, you feel the gentrification. If you're living on this side of the street, you can tell like this sidewalk still has all like the gum pieces, all the same fucking ash that was there fucking 10-20 years ago. This spot has to be cleaned up because technically this is, you know, property of whoever owns these facilities now, you know. So they really try to push you down or push you away.
Yeah, it's crazy because it adds like, it's contradictory in a lot of ways, because people complain about the housing crisis, which is a real problem. But then people move in and build these insane apartments that like nobody can afford except people who are coming from outside the state. And then people come because like, oh, I love the culture. Like you were saying, I love the culture. I love everything Los Angeles represents. But the more and more people that are kicked out that made that culture, the more the personality and its spirit gets taken away. Like you said, it's essentially gentrification. But I think what's weird is that because I live in Los Angeles, I live near downtown LA, and I've lived there my whole life. I think what upsets me sometimes is that there's this rationalization that it not only makes the neighborhood better, it makes it safer, which is, like you said, isn't true. These communities weren't the ones who were attacking. Crime exists anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Criminals will be criminals regardless of what culture, what person, what race they are.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like gentrification is this rationalization that kicking everybody out was just gonna solve the problem. But you kicking those people out, they weren't criminals. These regular people who lived in these regular houses, they didn't do anything to earn that punishment of no longer having to live where their family has lived for generations, you know? I think that's the misconception that people get, that gentrification makes the neighborhood safer, which isn't true. It just turns the blind eye to the unsafetyness.
And you hit it right on the nail. You lose the taste of what made it so desirable in the first place, you know? Like I can say right now, I mean, LA is probably still really good in terms of the food, but there have been spots that have closed down that I used to go to, and I'm like, dude, you can't, like, what's the point of coming to the street anymore, you know? For another cafe that I can go to for like 2 blocks down.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, you know, not to diss on those cafes. I'm sure they're good for people, but
yeah,
you know.
I mean, it's been a large issue, but it's a large issue right now. There's like active movements, people protesting, fighting back gentrification. Specifically, shout out to Boyle Heights. They've done an amazing work of like trying to really keep the culture of their community in there. And they've done a really good job. You see, if you drive through Boyle Heights, have you ever been there? There's signs everywhere of like, keep Boyle Heights, Boyle Heights. And it's really beautiful and I think, it's just sad to see that a culture be appreciated, but at the same simultaneously destroyed, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a really sad sight to see in Los Angeles. But I have hope. I have hope that honestly, I'm a very hopeful guy. That's one thing you'll learn about talking to me is I very rarely ever lead into the pessimist side. I like to believe that, you know, like Superman.
You don't seem like a downer, man.
Yeah, I'm not a downer. I think like there's good in every man, and we will find a way. Yeah. Especially nowadays, bro. I feel like nowadays people are so worried about everything. I mean, valid. Right. I'm not saying like don't worry about shit. Like, but people are worried AI, worried about wars, worried about famine, population. This isn't just me being like, don't worry, like live ignorantly, right? Life is life is bliss, the less you know. I think it's important to always be aware and educate yourself on issues that are going around the world. But I also think that rarely are things black and white. Rarely is the cup ever half empty, right? The analogy. I think that in the world, hope is one of the most beautiful things that you can believe in and give to people, because I think there's already a lot of people who think very negatively about our world, and I don't know, I just hate to like fall into that. I feel like everything's cool. You know,
talking about
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna kind of pivot, but talking about like kind of gentrification and stuff like that, I don't know, I just had this thought, but have you guys heard of like I think they call it new wave or new age colonialism? Yeah. Where they like people like who like us living under Californian like economy, and you know, we have like, I guess we would consider ourselves like not like financially secure probably at this stage, but if we were to go up and move to like a third world country and like spend our dollar there, like we're essentially like could live like
you're the top 1% in that,
and then like people do that, they move, they migrate, and they like kind of basically do what LA is being done.
You see it in Mexico a lot now. That's happening a lot there.
It's happening in Mexico right now, dude. In Mexico City and Tijuana, a few other cities in Mexico, it's happening. There's two different age groups. There's the young who work remotely and are moving into Mexico because, like you said, the dollar is worth more than the peso. And then there's the retirementees, where it's people are going to retire over in Mexico and are living there. It's affected a lot of people. I always see it on my For You page on TikTok. Recently, there was one of this couple who was getting married, and they had like a traditional like Oaxacan Mexican wedding, and then they come out and they're literally these like white Americans like dressed in like the traditional wear, and as contrary to popular belief, I am not a white person hater. I do not hate white people. I don't think it's good to spread hate to anybody. But I just think that there's this lack of awareness that always comes from white Americans, especially when they move to Mexico, that I feel like lacks respect for the culture that's there. And it's saddening because we did a TikTok once where I talked about that there's actually more Mexican Americans moving back into Mexico than Mexicans from Mexico coming into the U.S. Sounds complicated, but what I'm essentially saying is that a lot of people who were descendants of immigrants coming to the United States are basically just moving back now because of that, because our money is worth more.
Just to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And I don't know why I'm tripping up so much over my own tongue, but we actually got a good amount of messages from people who live in Mexico who were very angry about the TikTok, not because they felt as though we were promoting moving over there, but because they felt as though like we made it sound too glorious,
right?
Like as if like, okay, then move back, right?
Yeah.
Like the U.S. is a failed experiment of capitalism. Move to Mexico. And I think it really touched me because it really put into perspective that these aren't just topics. And not only that, but it's that raw. They were explaining to me that all the people who are moving back means that everybody's raising their prices. And me, who I was born in Mexico, I don't have a citizenship anywhere else. I can't move to another country. I can't do anything else except like live here. Now I'm being forced away from my own home, like where my family has literally lived for generations. Like there was people literally in our DMs telling me their stories about how they can't afford to just live in Mexico anymore. So it's so real, bro. Like you were saying, like it's literally just modern day colonization. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I feel bad. I felt bad for uploading the TikTok, but I also felt like it wasn't like I did it with that intent. Like I wasn't.
Of course not. No. Yeah.
Everybody should move to Mexico.
Right.
I just thought it was an insane statistic.
Yeah.
It's a lot of implications and stuff.
Yeah.
You should share with him what you went to Cancun, right?
I did.
Cabo.
I went to Cabo.
Yeah.
So I went there with all my friends are Latinos, the group that I went with, and we stayed there. Luckily, like one of my friends his parents had like a timeshare there that we were able to stay there for the weekends. We're like, okay, cool. Obviously, you go there and like most of that crowd in the summertime are just older, retired people or people that just need vacation. Mainly white people, but you get a mix of people there as well. So whatever, it's just cool. We felt very early on. They would always ask us, they would see our fucking, our skin color. They'd be like, do you guys speak Spanish? We're like, yeah, like, of course, and they treat us nice for the first interaction, and they would not pay attention to us for the rest of the freaking evening. Like anytime we were dining, we would always have to go like fetch our own stuff and whatnot, which is fine. Like I don't mind doing that, but you can see like the white people there. And again, I'm not a white people basher either, because I mean, like, I have the same opinion as you. Like, just treat everybody the same. Start the status quo with that. But these white people that were going there, they were older, they were ruder, and these people that were serving them were obviously Mexican, and they would treat them like kings. They'd be like, "Oh, I apologize, yada yada," and would like cater to them and like give them the best service. And maybe because they thought because we were younger, we weren't gonna tip them well. That's never like, dude, we tipped very well. Like we ended up meeting a bartender. Freaking amazing guy. He made the best fucking drinks. But anyways, like it took us so long. We didn't see him till like day 2 or day 3 till we finally had somebody that was like able to like understand where we're from, and realize like, okay, these guys aren't cheap, but also like, yeah, they saw the common respect of the fact that we're trying to speak to them in Spanish or whatever they were more comfortable with. But all these other white people, it felt like maybe because that's what they're used to, like that's what they have to cater towards. And that was sad seeing. I was like, man, like I don't feel the support from you guys, and maybe it's a Mexican American thing, maybe there's some of that going into it, but I just didn't feel the support going down there. It was still a fun time, but
it's for sure a prejudice
different.
thing. I think, like you said, I think they've been accustomed now to they're the clients, the white Americans are the clients. They're the ones who were here to truly serve. So I feel like our attention needs to go to them. We recently, I don't know if you guys saw it, we recently did a segment about how N Plus Media, this like social media news journalist, ground journalist company, I guess, they were in Mexico City and they were interviewing a bunch of the taqueros, and they were finding out that
Is this the salsa?
yeah,
Okay, I
that
have
the
heard of this,
salsa
yeah.
in Mexico is becoming less spicy because white Americans don't like spicy food.
Mhm.
So they've had to accommodate by that, and so now it's taking like this. It's starting to spread through most of Mexico,
Wow.
where the salsa is becoming less spicy. Yeah, and it's just an
It's good
insane.
for me.
It's crazy just to like wrap your mind around that,
Yeah.
because it's especially I was reading the kind of the converse. I like reading some of the comments when
Yeah.
they're not like specifically aimed towards me, because I
Mhm.
actually want to see what people think. And what I find interesting is that I think it's like, what do you do though? Because you can't really, if they're trying to accommodate and bring in more customers, they also want to bring money. Like,
Yeah.
obviously people need money to live.
Yeah.
So you can't blame the taqueros that they're making it less spicy, because they're just accommodating the group that happens to be around them.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it just sucks, you know?
Yeah.
I
It
feel that.
sucks.
I feel that way with like Indian cuisine too.
Really?
Uh-huh,
I think
but-
like I've been talking about like I used to like I couldn't do Indian food. Like I living in Hong Kong, I had friends. They were Indian. They'd bring lunch that their moms would make, and like, I don't know what it was. It was like, I think it was like naan bread, and there was like meat, like ground meat,
Mhm.
and you would eat it just kind of like very like
Mhm.
say taco-esque,
Yeah.
you know. And it was just so good. It was so good, but like afterwards, it was like the aftertaste would not leave. Like even to the point
Oh,
where
get
I
you
would
very
go
strong,
home.
yeah.
I had to brush teeth, and even brushing teeth, like it was still like residually there.
Mhm.
And that from then on, like I was like, oh, I can't do Indian food. Like it's so good, but I don't think it's like worth like
Yeah, the extra
aftertaste.
effort.
Yeah.
And then moving here, I finally like, I think my friend had invited me to her graduation dinner to like have, like, go to an Indian place, and I was just like, like I was younger, like let me not have one bad experience, like
Mhm.
like kill me, and like at the end of the day, I liked it, so I went, and like it was great, it was really good, but no aftertaste, and I feel like maybe that's kind of the same thing, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I feel that way with even like Taiwanese food. Like I feel like I haven't been able to find anything
They hit like home.
here that hits like when you have it over there.
You won't.
And it's like maybe it's an accommodation thing. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like like sourcing ingredients like
Mhm.
regional differences.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because it could be that just people who live around here don't like the authentic
Right.
flavor
Maybe.
of Taiwanese food, and so they haven't decided to make it that way. It could be.
right. It's
Look-
just, but I mean, I never thought of it that way where it was like an accommodation thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's crazy.
Look, man, I like a salsa that puts you in your ass sometimes. Okay, like you have to. We went to
Oh
a taco
my
truck
God.
that's actually not too far away, and they have like this orange sauce, right? And usually when you see the orange sauce, it's like a little bit more savory, whatever the hell. I just was like, that one looks a little. That doesn't look like the friendly kind, you know. And for whatever reason, like instead of like taste testing it, he just pours it. He just trusts it. And we're eating these tacos. He gets like 2 or 3 bites in. He's like red. I'm like, dude. He's like, dude, I can't eat this anymore. Like you were enjoying it, I guess.
It was
but
good, but
yeah.
like I was crying.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you, bro.
Sweating.
I eat super spicy now, but I wasn't always like that.
Mhm.
I fucking could not handle spicy food when I was younger, and the only reason I could is because I had this like this event in my life
Mhm.
where my brother. So I have an older brother, and if you guys, do you guys have brothers? Do you guys have?
I'm the
siblings?
oldest brother.
I've got a
You're
turning 10-year-old brother.
He's also the oldest brother.
He's
Okay.
young.
I was like,
Yeah.
so you guys would be my older brother in this scenario. Do you guys
Okay.
tease your little brother a little bit?
Yeah. of course.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you guys are nice. You guys are real nice. Sometimes my older brother loved teasing me, right? So we were at the family dinner table, and my dad had bought these like big ass green chilies, like super spicy. He had told us they were super spicy. They're not meant to be consumed like eating them. They're meant to be either put into like food ingredients,
Yeah.
or even like if you are gonna eat it, chop like the
Like
tip.
Serranos Romos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not meant to really be like eaten raw.
Mhm.
And my brother was making fun of me, and he was saying like, bro, like you can't handle spice. Like if you bite that chile, like if you eat it, I forgot, it was like something like $20 or something. But
Yeah.
he's like, but I know you're not gonna do it, because he's basically like,
$20
you're
is
too much.
$20
Yeah, he's like, you're too much of a
Yeah.
bitch. Like you're not gonna do it. Like I know it's not gonna happen. Whatever. My family goes like keeps eating at the dinner table, keeps doing their thing, and I'm looking at that chili, and I'm like, fuck this guy. He doesn't know me.
He's my brother, but he doesn't know me.
Oh yeah.
So I took the fucking big ass chile, took in one bite right to the stem, and then I took it out, and then I immediately just started eating it. And then my brother turns around and he sees it, and he's like, "Oh shit! Like, you're actually eating it?" And my parents are like, "How is it?" And the initial, whenever you bite into a chile, at least in this instant, it wasn't like an immediate kick. I felt it rise. Like, it slowly trickled in, and I was like, "Oh, it's a little spicy. It's whatever's." And bro, it completely blew me out of the water. I had to spit out the little bit that I had in. And I there was like a large Coke that my brother had, and he gave it to me, and I drank it, and I don't know why. I thought it would help. It made it worse.
Dude. That's what I told you. It's the fizziness. It's hitting your tongue. Yeah,
it made it a million times worse. So then I spit it out, and I was like, I started freaking out because I was like, I don't know how to make this go away. Like, it's not in my mouth anymore. And there's like the soda's not working. Like, what do I do? And I was drinking water. Like, I was just gulping water, and it wasn't doing anything. I did the classic, like, on the sink, like I was putting the water in my tongue. Nothing. Like, I thought I was gonna die. I swear it was my last day on earth. It was the hottest, most spiced out I've ever been. And then I remembered, I think somebody said something about milk, but we didn't have milk. We were out of milk that day. But we had ice cream. So I started eating the ice cream, and finally, like, that gave me relief. But it was so strong that for the next hour, I had to continually just eat the ice cream from the tub for a whole hour. And it wouldn't go away. It took a complete, I remember it took like more than 2 hours to it finally go away. And ever since then, I could eat spicy food. So that's my advice. My advice is, if you can't eat spicy food, eat a big ass green chile, and just like for a few hours, just experience the most pain you've ever experienced. But then after that, you should be good.
You burned off enough taste buds that you're like, all right, now we're accustomed.
Yeah, I love watching that DJ Khaled episode.
Dude,
of Hot Ones.
Hot Ones? Have you seen that?
Have you seen that one?
Oh my god. He taps out after like wing 3. He's like, I'm done. Like, we're done.
There's so much like self-preservation where he's like, this is not me giving up. Like, I want to let my fans know, like, I ain't a quitter. I ain't doing this no more, but I ain't a quitter. And it's like, and Sean Evans is just like
you just quit though.
You just like, that's quitting, like, by definition. And it's just like crazy. It's just so funny, but
it's so real. That's when you know your ego doesn't let you want to go down. Like me, like even with the chile, I'm like, I mean, it was a little spicy, right? It was whatever's. It wasn't that bad, right?
In the grand scheme of things, have you tried the Korean fire noodles? Like those, it's like it's a black bag, and then they have the red bag that's like 2 times as spicy.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I've never tried it. No,
that is like the best like flavor to spice ratio.
Okay.
It'll put you on your ass, but like you're enjoying it. Like, you're like sadistically
honestly,
enjoying it.
We have some in the pantry. I'll give you one.
Oh, we can get
Really?
Yeah, you can totally have one.
Yeah,
I'll try it out.
Okay.
Maybe I'll add it to the next intro of.
You should take some with everybody in the next podcast.
Oh yeah,
Honestly,
we'll give you 3 bricks.
Yeah.
Totally. They were a gift to me, but now they're a gift to you.
We gotta share the pain.
Wait, if they were a gift, I feel bad taking.
Nah.
Misery loves company, so
yeah. I'll get it more. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Really
I'll do it. I've been wanting. I've told them, like, because now it's like a superpower. Now I can never get spiced out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do the hot chip challenge with them, but they were not down. They said no.
I'm very. I have like stomach issues, not like ulcers or anything like that, but I can't take spice like I used to, because I used to be a tapatio kid and just fucking like pour it on. But yeah, I think that'll give you. It should give you a challenge, and if it doesn't, you're just gonna have a good time enjoying the flavor. You know.
Yeah, it's so cute too, because my girl, she can't handle spice at all. And I remember when we first started dating, I was eating. What was I eating? I was eating something spicy, and she's like, "Oh, like, that's good." She did the classic girlfriend thing, like, "Oh, can I have like a bite?" I would obviously offer.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she's like, "Wait, is it spicy?" And I'm like, "No, like it's more the flavor. You don't really taste it." I almost killed her. I basically poisoned her. She was dying. She's like, "This is spicy as fuck." I was like, "I generally don't taste it anymore." Do you know actually where like buffalo wings originate from?
No.
I'm about to drop some knowledge on you.
Okay.
The coal miners in the old west, when they would work with coal, since obviously cold, there's a lot of soot.
Mhm.
It would get
Yeah.
into their nose and all around them, their eye holes, everything, till eventually their taste buds would like they would basically get diluted.
Mm.
They wouldn't be able to taste a lot of things, but the
Oh.
only thing they could taste is extremely spicy food.
Mm.
So a lot of the saloons came up with just chicken wings and putting all the fucking sauce in there.
Wow.
And that's where buffalo wings came from. Yeah,
That's crazy.
So you would see a lot of the times you'd see literally coal miners covered in soot, just like all black, and then they'd be eating the spiciest wings ever, and they could barely taste it, but they're like bomb. That's where Buffalo Wild Wings. That's where Buffalo Wings. That's where Buffalo Wings come
Buffalo
from.
wings.
So you're saying there's like a direct correlation between like I guess like taste buds and like having
makes sense.
taste and like spice tolerance.
I think so. I also heard something about spice tolerance. Actually, ignore me. Like if I can't even remember, it's not that important.
No, just point it out
Yeah.
once you hear it.
Yeah.
I don't.
But go ahead.
I don't know. I've been told that like I'm really good at like tasting and like identifying like ingredients.
You are.
in food.
Really?
Like if someone were to like give me something, I could probably like guess maybe like a
He's like
handful
he's
of
like a
the
greyhound, but like with
ingredients.
with
And
ingredients.
so
Yeah.
I think like it stands to reason my spice tolerance isn't like, well, it isn't yours.
Mhm.
You've seen firsthand.
Yeah.
But like maybe yeah, there's a direct link, and I don't want to go through your canon spice
You
event.
have to, bro.
Trial by fire.
But what, I don't want to lose my senses, man.
Literally trial by
Trial
fire.
Oh my god,
Oh yeah.
ring
Yeah.
of fire.
Yeah.
It is bad though, because a lot of the coal miners got like a lot of stomach diseases because of that.
Mhm.
Because they were just really spicy and they wouldn't
Shit.
taste them. They'd just be like, "This bombs. The only thing I can taste. Fuck it, I'll eat it."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. History, food history.
B-dub's lore.
Beat up's lore.
Beat-up's lore.
Straight up. That's crazy.
Jesus Christ.
Coal miner lore.
There we
Yeah.
go.
So next time you eat buffalo wings, thank the coal miners.
I'll take you to the mines and then you can handle your spice.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You gonna make me work?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful talent to have though. You can just taste anything like the.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like we should try. Like maybe like we should be like almost clinical with this and see. Maybe I'm just lucky.
You should, because
Yeah.
people do the blindfolds and
Yeah.
then they'll like feed you something.
Mm.
And be like, what do you think that was? You could do it with chips.
Maybe.
Like you get different flavors
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Lay's and be like, which flavor do you think that was?
Okay.
I've done it with. We have this controversy with our film sets. Very very big controversy. It's Welch's fruit snacks or Mott's fruit snacks. So where do you fall?
I'm a Welch.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
I literally ate some yesterday, so that's funny. Like not even because I was on set. I went to 7-Eleven and I bought some. I
Okay.
was just like,
I bring that up because I think I have done it like eyes closed, and I told somebody like I guess it's easier to pick out the fruit snacks, but I am like I will spit out a Mott's and I will like suck the fuck out of a Welch's gummy. Yeah. I just love Welch's so much, dude. But yeah, I mean we should do that like a little
Maybe.
thing.
I
Like
Yeah.
think yeah.
were you guys Halloween kids when you guys were younger? Did you guys love
fuck
trick or treating?
yes. I love
Oh, but
trick
you-
or treating.
I mean, it would just like it was the same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, it's universal tradition. I would just say like we didn't have the suburbia.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I lived in an like apartment complex, and they just had like a kind of like their clubhouse would have a program, and they would have all the kids go and like go to different apartments and trick or treat. It was pretty cool.
You have insane lore, bro. That's insane.
I really want to visit Taiwan with you or like Hong Kong as
That's
well.
like
Both.
insane.
take
I
you,
mean,
like-
you wear it so casually too, and like I feel like I wouldn't be able to know. Like I wouldn't guess that about you.
I feel like I just from here, man.
Yeah, that's
And-
why
and
I'm
like
like this
Yeah.
guy's from OC. What do you
and
mean?
like the culture obsession like beforehand too. It's just like, yeah, I did. It was tough. Like I had like identity problems and like kind of feeling like I was always in between like two worlds.
Mhm.
I think like when moving here, like the hardest part was finding friends, and like when moving, a lot of my conversations or even like the personality trait personality would just be like that's the guy that just moved here, like, or like a lot of Asian stereotype jokes or microaggressions, like being called like the smart Asian kid and all that, and kind of like I think like without really trying, like my Asian identity was just always tied to like my everyday life, and like what I noticed is like I couldn't be friends with other Asian kids, like not by choice, but like Asian kids that moved to the States from their respective countries, and you'll see a trend like they'll stick together and congregate and kind of have their own friend groups. But I think what I noticed is like I'm really good at making friends with just like, I guess, other people, like that aren't like me. And it's just like I identify with people that are just more diverse friend groups. I really like doing that, and like culture isn't tied into our friendships, or at least not like mutual culture. Instead, we're just kind of like showing each other like our cuisines and like whatnot.
I kind of get what you mean. I think it's because there's almost this like, and I imagine because I'm relating it to Mexican culture, and so I assume that's probably similar in a lot of different like ethnicities and races. I assume that when people grow up similarly, there's almost like this invisible code that people have in their inflections, the way they speak, and even the way they interact. And I imagine because you don't share in that, because you grew up obviously in international school, they sense it, even if it's not conscious. Like even if they're like, oh, he's this way and I don't want to fuck with him. If they sense something subconsciously where they're like, I feel like we just don't jive.
Like
we just don't jive together.
Even like a mild form of xenophobia almost, where it's just like, oh, like you're not like me, or
I totally think that's what it is, because I mean I've felt small glimpses of that, because it's very big in Mexican American like culture, because it's about how like proud you are of your ancestry, like coming from Mexico. So I feel like there's a lot of groups where some people are very alienated because even the language barrier, right? Do you speak, what's the language that's spoken in?
I mean, so I was born in Taiwan, but I think around the age of 2 I moved to Hong Kong. So Taiwan speaks Mandarin. Hong Kong, it's majority Cantonese and then a little bit of English. So almost everyone can get by with a little English.
And do you speak all those languages or just one?
I just speak English, man. Like,
really?
That was another like issue with like identity problems, was like I can't even speak the mother tongue, so it's hard to like identify with people that can. So
yeah, man. Shout out to Dominic. I have this friend named Dominic. He's Mexican American, and he's very outwardly appearing. He looks Mexican, but he doesn't speak a lick of Spanish. And he talks to me all the time about how he grew up and he felt that way. He felt very disconnected from his culture, and he felt like it was very hard to make friends because the language barrier just adds another like layer. I don't think it's anything. Obviously, it sucks that you couldn't like learn the language, but I also don't think it's anything that you should feel too like, I don't know, bad about, because I feel like that's in itself a little bit xenophobic. Like,
that's
to be
fair.
like, right? Like to be like, man, this guy doesn't speak the language. Fuck him. Like, go fuck yourself. You know.
That's how it is now. I mean, like with Mexican Americans or just like any Latin-based American, like if it's commonly talked about, like if you don't speak Spanish, like you're shunned upon. But even if you do, you're not speaking it correctly or whatever the fact may be. My Spanish is not like up there. Like I know a very limited amount of Spanish. I can understand most of what people are saying and have a good, decent conversation, but it's not up to par. And I get shit for that. Not even in a bad way, like in a jokingly way from like family or whatnot, but also like we go back and forth, like whose responsibility is it to learn Spanish? Was it my end or was it your end to teach, the parents, you know? And it's really, I think it's both sides. Like, yes, I could have taken more of an interest to learn Spanish, but just obviously based on your setting, like everyone's speaking English. And that's like, even I went to school, elementary and middle school, like around Koreatown, and like LA's such a big melting pot that the one common language is English. So why are you not going to speak it, you know? But I mean, I probably to a lesser sense, because you obviously moved like, you know, across the sea here, but I mean, I feel you. That's why we drive, you know?
I think so. Yeah. And it's like, it's cool because now we like can share culture and like kind of learn new things. Which I really do enjoy about like having like diverse friendships. It's just like,
yeah, I agree. Also, then if you have kids and you really want them to speak that language, at least now you know. You're like, maybe I don't want them to go the same thing as me.
Diversity without the tokenism. I want to make that clear.
That's
you know, that's a good topic. I've been wanting to talk about that on the show, because I was like, I recently made this conclusion that stereotypes are often painted as bad, but in a weird way, sometimes people themselves conform to that stereotype,
Mhm.
which I've want to wrap my mind around as to like what does that offer someone, like what does it offer you to be the stereotypical like Mexican, Taiwanese, like
Right.
what does that offer to you? Like why do people willingly conform to that? And I was really trying to I was just pondering about that, because I was like, if it brings goodness, let's say the argument is that, oh, it makes me feel like I found a belonging, I feel community, I know who I am, I don't have the identity crisis, even if it's a stereotype.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know who I am, because it does that good. Then does it get like a pass? Is it okay to people from their own to conform to their own stereotypes? Is it not? I don't know.
Me personally, I like being a mix of different cultures, like
Yeah.
taking stuff from other, taking experiences and just like, especially cuisines, food, but like just embracing different people's things. Like if you want to live the American dream, that's the point of it, at least in my opinion, is just like get to know and get familiar with other people. And yeah, there was a study, not a study, but I guess a prediction, saying like hundreds of years with human evolution with like cross I guess culture breeding and just race breeding, like everyone would kind of look around the same skin tone, and like things get very familiar within like a few hundred years if this continues. So I mean, like even as a kid, it doesn't need to happen. I think in dating or just in relationships, I feel comfortable with Latinas because I mean, like that's the culture. But like, dude, if you can have mutts as like a baby, like, dude, that's like beautiful. Like, go ahead and like, you know, if it's a mixed kid, like, who cares?
Now
Just,
you're
you have
part
the
of
best
two
of both
cultures,
worlds.
yeah.
Yeah. So you want to be a citizen of the world. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
That's
Don't
valid.
don't be
I-
picky.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really like very like green flag. Like it's cool knowing someone that's very well versed in several cultures.
Yeah.
And like can be that person to
Mhm.
kind of, you know, be educated in that.
Mhm.
And so I think that's really cool that we blur the lines a little more.
Most of those people are like people that talk about peace and whatnot because they understand where these people are coming from,
Yeah.
what's important to them, and most of the time, not everything, but a lot of the same factors that traditional, you know, backgrounds and cultures take with them, they're all kind of similar, you know. You know, at least on the surface level, you can get into details about religions and whatnot, and that's what pivots. But yeah, I think for the most part, everyone wants to be good to their fellow, you know, neighbor and
Mhm.
whatnot. So
I
that's
think so too. I'm hopeful like that. How does it feel for you being in an interracial relationship?
Honestly, it's I feel like there's a lot of pressure. I guess in the sense of like it's mostly like meeting the family. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
that's
can imagine.
definitely the pressure and kind of like upholding your own values and also like being understanding of like the values that your partner's family hold and kind of being respectful but also respecting your own kind of beliefs. But it's cool. Like I like going to my girlfriend's house and having pozole. Like, you
Fuck
know.
yeah, you do.
That's fucking
For real.
cool. I have my girlfriend over at Chinese New Year.
Mhm.
I take her,
Oh, wow.
and so she gets to celebrate with us, and she gets to have red packets of
Mhm.
money, and she gets to try like really good food. So
That's
You both do a
beautiful.
good job of embracing each other's cultures.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
I feel like I could do a better job. 100%, I think. But
But it's harsh.
yeah, I don't ever think about it. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm in an interracial
I get
relationship.
you.
Like that's that's what it would be called, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I just
It's so funny because it reminds me of this joke that was on the Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Mhm.
I forgot who he was interviewing, but it was like this Asian comedian, and he's like, "How does it feel to be Asian?" And the comedian's like, "I don't know. Like I don't wake up and the first thing I think about is like, oh, I'm Asian." He's like, "I just wake up," and Theo Vaughn's like, "Oh, that's true. I didn't think about it." I imagine it's the same way with interracial relationships. Like
yeah.
I don't wake up. You don't wake up and you're like, I'm in an interracial relationship.
You know what is something that I will say, like, to answer that question is being able to speak to her parents.
Mhm.
That is
yeah.
something that like it's not something I just feel about with my relationship, but like my relationship with my family, because I don't even speak Chinese, so I can't even talk to my grandfather, for example, and it's just kind of like communicating with him is very like,
I feel you,
it's
man.
either like through someone or through like
Gestures,
hand movements.
Yeah.
And like I feel obviously like I can't be ashamed for not speaking Spanish, but like it kind of hits the same like parts of me that like I can't like speak to my grandpa, I guess.
yeah.
And just like, wow, like I wish I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. My sister, her boyfriend's white, and he brings up to her all the time, and she's told me that that's what he struggles with too, is that he feels like he wishes he could talk to my parents more because he doesn't know any Spanish, and it really affects him because he's like, obviously this is somebody that I love, and I want to be able to speak to somebody who like they love and made them. And so I feel you too, and not only do I relate to you in that sense, but I relate to you in the sense of when my grandma passed away a few years ago, and one of my biggest regrets is that I never really had a relationship with her, especially as I got older and I got into college and I got more and more invested into my ancestry, into like where me and my parents come from, because a lot of my grandparents have indigenous last names and geographically come from indigenous places. And if you don't know about Mexican history, just to sum up, there's a lot of it is lost because it's passed down verbally. And one of my biggest regrets when my grandma passed away is that I never had a relationship with her because I was so insecure about my ability to speak Spanish.
No.
Yeah. So even though I speak Spanish and it's gotten better over the years, especially now that I'm adult and I actively try to make an effort for it to be better, I didn't have that relationship with my grandma because I was just insecure about my ability to speak Spanish. So it resonates a lot. Like, I know how you feel. It definitely feels like it's something that you feel sad and you want to do something about it. But as long as you have time to breathe, you have time to learn, and you have time to
It's never too
make
late,
an effort. Yeah.
That's how it goes. I want to wrap this up pretty soon here, but mainly just coming back to the podcast, because after listening to you, I mean, obviously we don't eat in passing, but I mean, you're really good at what you do. I think mainly because it is that relatability. What's something that you kind of, if you had like not necessarily a tagline, but I guess just like premises, or you know how businesses have like, this is us, about us.
Your
This
slogan,
is our mission
motto.
statement. Yeah. What do you think you guys try to represent and hold as a standard?
Ooh, that is a good one. Well, I think we speak on topics that we feel like we can educate ourselves, simultaneously educating our audience. We try to pin it in a positive light, hence our name, Everything's Cool. I think if I had to give a tagline, is that we try to bring awareness to the unaware, while making sure, despite all the troublesome topics that we can talk about, at the end of the day, you know that everything's cool. Right? That's in Todo Chido. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, is the same thing. It's just a translation of everything's cool. So I guess if I had to put a tagline, is that if you want to be educated and you want to learn about topics that I feel like are very significant at the time that we present them, don't be afraid of the fact that they may be a little bit boring or educational, because we try to make sure that we give a positive light and that we tell you that everything's cool. Just everything is cool. Everything's cool in itself. It's self-explanatory, right? Like, you're worried about your job, you're worried about the government, you're worried about if your girl's gonna text you back. You can just watch the show and you'll know that everything's cool, right? So that's basically the most I can kind of say about that. Yeah.
That's not a bad way to live life.
I'd want to ask, like,
go ahead.
I feel like it's the same question, but in like the technical sense. But I'd love to hear how you prepare for episodes with
how we prepare.
With your, co-hosts.
So usually we're each in charge of coming up with about 2 to 3 topics per week, depending on its severity, like how significant the topic is. For me, I try to take at least like the work week, that's in Monday through, we shoot on Thursday. So Monday through Wednesday, I try to do research, I take notes, especially because we're school themed.
Yeah.
We have notebooks now that we take it. It just makes it easier to memorize. So all three of us usually have our notebooks that we write into. We didn't like gift each other notebooks. We just got like a spare notebook that we all had, and then we wrote down topics. And then before the show, we decided which order we all want to speak in. So which topics we brought for the week, like yours sounds like it'd be a good opener, yours sounds like it'd be good in the middle, yours sounds like it'd be good at the end. And we try to take into account how we did it last week. If like, oh, I went first last week, like you go first this time. It's like, okay. And then it keeps it freshing, keeps it very nice. We try to limit each person speaking's topic who leads the conversation to 20 minutes. Very rarely does that happen. Extremely rarely does that happen. Sometimes we go like 2 hours because we just yap. We're just professional yappers. Yeah, we're just really good at yapping. If it's like, for example, a guest, where we do even more prep time. So usually we're blowing up in the group chat, be like, these are questions that I feel like I want to ask that lead into these questions. And then somebody can respond and be like, yo, bro, that's like literally everything I was gonna ask. Like, you can't ask that. Like, I'm not gonna have material. And so it's like, okay, like, I'm down to at least give you these questions, but I want to have these questions because I feel like what I'm gonna ask is really important, and I feel like I can deep dive into it. We're like, okay, for sure, and then we just work it out. We really treated very professionally, but we also we told ourselves that we gotta always make sure that we're having fun and enjoying it. Because if it becomes too much like a job and professionalism, I think it fucks with your chemistry.
It does.
And I think you gotta give your audience the benefit of the doubt. Like, don't insult their intelligence. If you're not having a good time making it, everybody's gonna know you're not. They're gonna sense the vibe, and nobody's gonna watch. Nobody's gonna enjoy what you're putting out there. So you gotta make sure that you prioritize that. Is this something you would watch? And if it's not, then why are you gonna talk about it?
Right.
Yeah. So there's that much effort that goes into the topics for the most part.
The three of you guys hang out like outside of the podcast too,
right? Yeah, we do. Usually we try to make after recording, we try to make an effort to hang out like for a few hours. We just feel like it's better for our chemistry, and also like we're just all friends. We enjoy hanging out with each other. As we've progressed in the show, we've hung out less, not because we've gotten tired of each other, but because our lives have gotten more busy. Like me and Brandon are in relationships now, and I mean, as I'm sure you know, like relationships take effort and time to do. And so we've hung out a little bit less, but we've always tried to at least make some time to hang out outside the show, not talk about like business, not talk about the show, because I think it's really important. It's just chemistry, right? It's technically entertainment, so you got to make sure that you're protecting that part of your guys' chemistry.
Definitely. One of the last questions here that I want to ask is mainly about just projecting. Where would you want to see it on both the business side and the personal side? You know, what's the plan for this year and moving forward? You know, in terms of like, hey, maybe this is the next steps.
Yeah. Okay. So, we actually had a meeting about this. So we're trying to, at the end of the year, have on YouTube, we want to have 10K subscribers. As to like, it's literally on the billboard, like question mark. Like, it's like, right now we have 2,000, so it goes 2,000 question mark 10,000. I don't know how, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to do other content too, and we're also trying to increase the quality of the show, because we feel as though our experience working in radio made us realize that you can't just expand. You can't just like expand without first making sure that the show, your foundation, is well built, well taken care of, well oiled. So in terms of like next step, we're trying to increase our equipment, and we're also trying to add in new things that make us stand out from the crowd, because you guys know podcasts are everywhere. So we're trying to at least add something that brings an entertainment value, because at the end of the day, it's obviously podcasts are for educational and sometimes even therapeutic senses, but there's an element of entertainment that's in there. And you want whoever's watching to be entertained, so that's what we're kind of trying to do. We might have a live show this year.
That would be fun.
Oh,
Yeah, through some connections that we've made it in Staples Center. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, this is actually the first time that I'm actually talking about this. I haven't talked about it yet because I need something more solid to talk about, but it could be a possibility that seems to be going good right now. So I guess we'll see if it happens. So there's another milestone. We hope to collab more. Brandon said our goal for this year is to have a very big, well-known guest. He's like fuck like niche internet shit. Like we need like a big guest, not through like because we want the cloud or we feel as though like, oh, it's like gonna put us on the map. Just for, like you said, almost our own personal goal, because we want to just feel like we've grown so much because we've taken care of our baby.
Yeah.
We want to make sure it would just feel so nice that somebody who we don't even know, like Steve from Jackass, like was just like, yeah, I was watching it, I fuck with you guys, like I would love that.
How crazy would it be if this circled back to you guys getting Kanye West as that guest?
Bro,
that would be crazy.
Full circle.
What an insane, like, whoa, okay. Yeah. And I guess another personal goal, since that one's kind of doesn't count. Personal goal is I said I thought of one recently, but I can't remember. But I think a personal goal for me is to have another action figure. That'd be cool, like another Funko Pop. That's what I'll choose right now. Make it fun.
I can get you a Lego one.
Oh yeah, we can
We'll make you a little Lego.
It like looks nothing like you. It's like, what do you mean it has your eyes, but they all have the same like little dotty eyes?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but that's a personal goal.
That's awesome, and best of luck to that, because I would definitely go.
It's well deserved.
Yeah,
and like we can tell even just through watching the videos like how hard you guys work.
Yeah,
but like it's really awesome hearing like what goes behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Yeah, just keep doing it.
We know you're doing it. Yeah. I have no advice besides like you guys are on the right path. You have the goals laid out. You just takes time and it takes like the right moves, you know.
Thank you. I mean, you guys too. I really love your guys' setup. Like I really think you guys put a lot more effort than. This is not a sneak diss. This is not me stirring the pot right now, but I'm just saying, having been in podcasts a lot, I've seen a lot of podcasts come and go, and I can already tell you guys have a lot more effort put into this than I've seen some podcasts.
This has been brewing in my head and partly his head for like 2-3 years now.
It was talked about.
When we pulled the trigger, like all the, beyond the motivation, the discipline was there because now we had the film background. Plus, like, I think we know interesting enough people where we're like, hey, like this can snowball. And like, we don't even have a fan base that's big, that's like super big. But like all of our friends are like pressing us like, when's the fucking next one?
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh,
thank you.
Heard it here first.
Certified fan.
Certified.
Yeah.
We'll start putting out shirts. I'll give you the first one.
I mean, give me merch.
I guess that's how it starts. But like, I mean, our friends are our biggest supporters, and we're hoping that like it kind of snowballs. And I mean, if anything, like we want the people that don't know us that enjoy our show. We want them to watch it because of people like you.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't even care if they know about me and Sean. Like, I just want them to be like, oh, if you watch this podcast, like, they have a really cool guy. It's like, what's the fucking? It's like Tiny Desk. Like, you don't really know the people behind it, but you know if you watch.
NPR, you know.
That's good. That's a good analogy, actually. Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I like to end the podcast with you having a personal message for the audience. So, spiel, rant, yap. I don't care how long it takes, but basically, if you ever been through any rut, if you had any troubles. But ways to get out of it, some motivation, lay out what you think that, that journey was, how to get out of it, and just, what people can take away from your experience thus far in life.
Ooh, okay. I think that being pushed out of your comfort zone is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself. It'll always be scary, but just because something's scary doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You could be scared and make, choices that'll benefit you. I think that for me, from what I've learned in my life, is that it's very rare that you should ever say no to an opportunity. I feel like, obviously, that comes with its own little asterisks. But I think for the most part, if there's an opportunity that comes your way, you'd be a fool not to take it because you never know what beautiful things would come your way. for me, it was this random friend that I made who was more my sister's friend, saying that we should do this show where we're gonna be on the radio and be on camera. And I felt extremely uncomfortable and shy. I was super young. And then fast forward, my girlfriend met me because she saw me on the show. And now I'm in a loving relationship, and I have somebody in my life who loves me and I love very much. And I would have never have gotten that opportunity if when I was first offered the show, I was like, no, I'm scared. Don't feel comfortable. I'm afraid. You know, you can't let fear take over you. You got to do things even with that fear. And so I guess my little bit of advice is go into things with all your effort, and your best will pay off. I think hard work pays off. You just got to keep going at it, man. I don't even know. I'm not even close to my end of the journey. I don't know what comes next for me or what's in the future, but I'm excited because I know I'm going to give it my all. And as long as you give it your all, don't ever feel bad about it, because you know there's nothing more you could have done.
Fuck.
Beautifully said.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Steve. Go listen to him, Todo Chido podcast, and his other projects that you'll see soon, hopefully. We're going to plug the fucking shit out of you, Steve. So
thank you.
Best of
shout
luck.
out to you guys, too. Shout out to you guys for doing this and bringing me on. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Of course.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap.
See ya.
Please say hi to Brandon and Jules.
Please,
for us.
yeah.
I will.
All right.
Oh, dude, you killed it. Holy crap.
Thank you.